Welcome to the Explainer. So today we are diving headfirst into a massive paradox that is basically defining the 2026 job market right now. Get this. Data shows that over 70% of job seekers are using AI to write their resumes. That's huge. But here's the crazy part. Almost every single one of those candidates is absolutely terrified of getting caught. It's the ultimate tightrope walk, really. You desperately need the speed and that perfect polish of AI just to compete, but you absolutely cannot afford to look like a machine. Which brings us to the million-dollar question, right? The exact thing everyone using ChatGPT or Claude is secretly agonizing over in the middle of the night. Can recruiters actually tell? Is there some secret alarm that goes off on their end when you upload your application? Well, brace yourself because the answer is a resounding yes. A staggering 80% of hiring managers report that they can spot an AI-generated resume essentially at a glance, just like that. I know, that number instantly raises the stakes, doesn't it? It kind of feels like the system is rigged against you from the start. Okay, but before you totally panic and go delete your ChatGPT account, let's actually break down why they're rejecting these resumes. Notice the distinction in the data here. Yes, 80% can spot it, and nearly half will dismiss a suspected AI resume. But the vast majority, 62% of them, aren't rejecting you just because you used a tool. They're rejecting you because your AI resume is generic, lazy, and completely unpersonalized. Only 18% are actually rejecting AI use on principle alone. So the crucial takeaway here? The modern hiring market doesn't actually punish AI usage, it punishes unedited, lazy machine output. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the reality of modern resume screening, what we call the 4-layer ATS filter. Because there's this huge myth out there that there's just one magic AI detector acting as a gatekeeper. That's simply not true. It's actually a 4-layer gauntlet. Let's walk through it. First, you have parsing, which is just extracting text. Then, matching, which is checking for keywords. And honestly, layers 1 and 2, they could not care less who wrote your resume. They only care about your formatting and your keywords. Then there's layer 3, AI detection software. But frankly, it's notoriously imperfect and usually just bumps you to a lower queue. The real danger? The final boss of this whole process? That would be layer 4, the human review. And this right here brilliantly illustrates exactly what happens at layer 4. Listen to this, real quote from a recruiter who's deep in the trenches. 120 resumes a week for 4 years. AI written ones have a tell. Just pattern matching after the 400th time you've seen the same phrase. That hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It is human pattern recognition that gets your AI resume thrown in the trash, not some complex detection software. Recruiters aren't running crazy algorithms in their heads, they're just deeply, deeply exhausted by reading the exact same robotic phrasing for the 400th time.
Okay, let's dive into this. What are the AI dead giveaways? Why do you keep getting caught?
If human fatigue is the real enemy here, what are the specific flaws making recruiters instantly roll their eyes? First up, the corporate word salad. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Leveraged synergies, spearheaded, delved, pivoted. Listen, unless you are a Fortune 500 CEO issuing a press release back in 1998, you probably don't talk like this. But AI models absolutely love stuffing these dense, overly formal buzzwords right into your opening summary. And over 50% of hiring managers cite this unnatural phrasing as the single biggest giveaway. Now, here is a hyper-specific tell that I find absolutely fascinating, the M-cascade. AI models, especially ones like ChatGPT and Claude, have this massive, undeniable default bias toward using the M-. So if your resume suddenly features 5 of these on the very first page and you definitely didn't write like that prior to 2022, yeah, don't do it now. It creates a distinctly robotic rhythm that trained eyes spot instantly.
But the absolute biggest giveaway? Metrics without context. Think about the difference between a lazy AI draft that just says something like, increased revenue by 40% and improved team efficiency. I mean, sure, it sounds confident, but it's completely hollow. 40% of what? Now compare that to a humanized version. Led a cross-functional team of 8 to redesign checkout flow, reducing cart abandonment by 32% and increasing revenue by $2.1 million. Boom! Night and day, right? It has scope, project details, and hard financials. AI cannot invent verifiable facts about your past. Only you can provide that.
So how do we actually do this right in 2026? Let's open up the AI resume playbook.
Step 1 is really just understanding your tools so we don't get rejected at layer 4. You've got your generic AI, like ChatGPT, and then you have purpose-built builders like Reframe CV or Hired AI. Using ChatGPT for formatting is super risky because it outputs text, not an ATS-safe document structure. If you mess that up, you fail layer 1 instantly.
Plus, generic AI lacks category intelligence. It doesn't inherently know that a software engineer needs a tech stack highlighted, whereas a designer needs a portfolio link front and center. Dedicated builders, on the other hand, use what's called a job-first architecture. They extract the exact requirements from the job description and automatically format your specific skills into an ATS-safe PDF.
Now, if you absolutely must use a generic tool like ChatGPT, you have to be prepared to pay what experts are calling the prompting tax. What does that mean? Well, if you just lazily type in, rewrite my resume for this job posting, you are 100% getting that generic word salad we talked about earlier. Instead, you need to prompt it like this. Rewrite, emphasizing revenue growth and client retention, includes specific dollar amounts, and these technologies, React, AWS. See the difference? You have to demand specific metrics and tools. The quality of your AI's output is strictly dictated by the context-rich precision of your input. So, bringing this all together, what's the ultimate winning workflow? It boils down to treating AI as a drafting assistant, definitely not a replacement for your own brain. Step 1. Let the AI generate the structural draft based on the job description so it handles the keyword matching. Step 2. Ruthlessly delete the AI's generic adjectives. Seriously, kill all those synergies. Step 3. Inject your own specific verifiable numbers and project names. And finally, Step 4. I like to call this the embarrassment test. Read every bullet point out loud. If it sounds like something that would embarrass you to say directly to a colleague over coffee, rewrite it immediately.
Which leads us to the most important point of all. Specificity wins the job. It is the new luxury good. This right here is the core philosophy you need to survive. We have officially entered an era where having a perfectly formatted, typo-free resume just isn't special anymore. In a world where AI can make absolutely anyone sound perfectly polished in seconds, polish is cheap. It's expected. Specificity, however, specificity is the new luxury good. It's your ultimate differentiator. Verifiable evidence of your unique impact, the messy, hyper-specific details of a project you saved or an exact dollar amount you generated, that is the only signal that's going to cut through the automated noise.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Next time you open up your resume, take a really close look and ask yourself this. Is this document just a reflection of a machine's generic training data, or is it a true, vibrant reflection of your unique, verifiable impact? Take back your voice, inject those messy specifics, and go land that interview. Thanks so much for joining us.